The KABALAH. All religions have preserved the remembrance of a primitive book, written in hieroglyphs by the sages of the earliest epoch of the world. Simplified and vulgarized in later days, its symbols furnished letters to the art of writing, characters to the word, and to occult philosophy its mysterious signs and particles. This book, attributed by the Hebrews to Enoch, seventh master of the world after Adam, by the Egyptians to Hermes Trismegistus, by the Greeks to Cadmus, the mysterious builder of the holy city, this book was the symbolical summary of primitive tradition, called subsequently KABALAH or KABALAH, meaning reception. The tradition in question rests altogether on the one dogma of magic: the visible is for us the proportional measure of the invisible. Now the ancients, observing that equilibrium is the universal law in physics, and is consequent on the apparent opposition of two forces, argued from physical to metaphysical equilibrium, and maintained that in God, that is, in the first living and active cause, there must be recognized two properties which are necessary one to another: stability and motion, necessity and liberty, rational order and volitional autonomy, justice and love, whence also severity and mercy. And these two attributes were personified, so to speak, by the Kabbalistic Jews under the names of Jebera and Chst. Above Jebera and Chst abides the supreme crown, the equilibrating power, principle of the world or equilibrated kingdom, which we find mentioned under the name of Malkuth in the occult and Kabbalistic versicle of the Paternoster to which we have already referred. But Jebera and Chst, maintained in equilibrium by the crown above and the kingdom below, constitute two principles, which may be considered either from an abstract point of view or in their realization. In their abstract or idealized sense, they take the higher names of Chokmah, wisdom, and Binah, intelligence. Their realization is stability and progress, that is, eternity and victory, Hod and Netzah. Such, according to the KABALAH, is the groundwork of all religions and all sciences: a triple triangle and a circle, the notion of the triad explained by the balance multiplied by itself in the domains of the ideal. Then the realization of this conception informs. Now, the ancients attached the first notions of this simple and impressive theology to the very idea of numbers, and qualified the figure of the first decade after the following manner: 1. Kether. The crown, the equilibrating power. 2. Chokmah. Wisdom, equilibrated in its unchangeable order by the initiative of intelligence. 3. Binah. Active intelligence, equilibrated by wisdom. 4. Chst. Mercy, which is wisdom in its secondary conception, ever benevolent because it is strong. 5. Jebera. Severity, necessitated by wisdom itself, and by goodwill. To permit evil is to hinder good. 6. Tifereth. Beauty, the luminous conception of equilibrium informs, intermediary between the crown and the kingdom, mediating principle between creator and creation, a sublime conception of poetry and its sovereign priesthood. 7. Netzah. Victory, that is, eternal triumph of intelligence and justice. 8. Hod. Eternity of the conquests achieved by mind over matter, active over passive, life over death. 9. Jesod. The foundation, that is, the basis of all belief and all truth otherwise, the absolute in philosophy. 10. Malkuth. The kingdom, meaning the universe, entire creation, the work and mirror of God, the proof of supreme reason, the formal consequence which compels us to have recourse to virtual premises, the enigma which has God for its answer, that is to say, supreme and absolute reason. These 10 primary notions attached to the 10 first characters of the primitive alphabet, signifying both principles and numbers, are called the 10 Sephirith by the masters in KABALAH. The sacred tetragram, drawn in the following manner, indicates the number, source and correspondence of divine names. To this name of Jochava, written by these 24 signs, crowned with a triple flower of light, must be referred the 24 thrones of heaven and the 24 crowned elders in the Apocalypse. In the KABALAH the occult principle is called the ancient, and this principle, multiplied and, as it were, reflected in secondary causes, creates images of itself, that is to say, so many ancients as there are diverse conceptions of its unique essence. These images, less perfect in proportion as they are removed farther from their source, project upon the darkness an ultimate reflection or glimmer, representing a horrible and deformed ancient, who is termed vulgarly the devil. Hence an initiate has been bold enough to say, the devil is God, as understood by the wicked, while another has added, in words more bizarre but no less energetic, the devil is composed of God's ruins. We may sum up and explain these strikingly novel definitions by remarking that in symbolism itself the demon is an angel cast out of heaven for having sought to usurp divinity. This belongs to the allegorical language of prophets and makers of legends. Philosophically speaking, the devil is a human idea of divinity, which has been surpassed and dispossessed of heaven by the progress of science and reason. Among primitive Oriental peoples, Moloch, Adramelech, Baal, were personifications of the one God, dishonored by barbarous attributes. The god of the Jansenists, creating hell for the majority of human beings and delighting in the eternal tortures of those he was unwilling to save, is a conception even more barbarous than that of Moloch. Hence the god of the Jansenists is already a veritable Satan, fallen from heaven, in the sight of every wise and enlightened Christian. In the multiplication of the divine names the Kabbalists have connected them all, either with the unity of the tetragram, the figure of the triad, or the sephirotic scale of the decad. They arrange the scale of the divine names and numbers in a triangle, which may be presented in Roman characters as follows: JRSTJ Elohim Sabaut Ararata LV Datalum Jiba Elam Sabaut. The sum of all these divine names formed from the one tetragram, but outside the tetragram itself, is a basis of the Hebrew ritual and constitutes the occult force which the Kabbalistic Rains invoke under the title of Shamanparas. We have now to concern ourselves with the tarot from the Kabbalistic point of view, and have already indicated the occult source of the name. This hieroglyphic book is composed of a Kabbalistic alphabet and of a wheel or circle of 4 decades, distinguished by 4 symbolical and typical figures, each having for its radius a scale of 4 progressive figures, which represent humanity, man, woman, youth, child, master, mistress, knight, esquire. The 22 figures of the alphabet represent, in the first place, the 13 dogmas, and secondly, the 9 beliefs authorized by that Jewish religion which is so strong and so firmly established on highest reason. Here follows the religious and Kabbalistic key of the tarot, formulated in technical verses after the mode of the ancient lawgivers. 1. A conscious, active cause in all we see. 2. And number proves the living unity. 3. No bound hath he who doth the whole contain. 4. But, all preceding, fills life's vast domain. 5. Soul-worthy worship, he, the only Lord. 6. Doth his true doctrine to clean hearts accord. 7. But since faith's works a single pontiff need. 8. One law have we, and at one altar plead. 9. Eternal God for either base upholds. 10. Heaven and man's day alike his rule enfolds. 11. In mercy rich, in retribution strong. 12. His people's king he will upraise ere long. 13. The tomb gives entrance to the promised land. Death only ends, life's vistas still expand. These doctrines sacred, pure and steadfast shine, and thus we close our numbers scale divine. 14. Good angels all things temper and assuage. 15. While evil spirits burst with wrath and rage. 16. God doth the lightning rule, the flame subdue. 17. His word controls both vesper and her dew. 18. He makes the moon our watchman through the night. 19. And by his sun renews the world in light. 20. When dust to dust returns, his breath can call life from the tomb which is the fate of all. 21. His crown illuminates the mercy seat. 22. And glorifies the cherubs at his feet. By the help of this purely dogmatic explanation we shall already understand the Kabbalistic alphabet of the tarot. Thus, figure I, entitled the jugular, represents the active principle in the economy of divine and human autotelia. Figure A, vulgarly called Pope Joan, represents dogmatic unity based upon numbers, and is the personification of the Kabbalah or the Gnosis. Figure Rhea represents divine spirituality under the emblem of a winged woman, holding in one hand the apocalyptic eagle, and in the other the world suspended from the end of her scepter. The other emblems are equally clear, and can be explained as easily as the first. Turning now to the four suits, namely, clubs, cups, swords, and circles or pentacles, commonly called denies. All these are hieroglyphics of the tetragram. Thus, the club is the Egyptian phallus or Hebrew jod, the cup is the ktais or primitive he, the sword is the conjunction of both, or the lingam, represented in Hebrew preceding the captivity by vow, while the circle or pentacle, image of the world, is the he final of the divine name. Now let us take a tarot and combine all its emblems one by one into the wheel or rotor of William Postel. Let us group the four aces, the four twos, and so on, together. We shall then have 10 packs of cards giving the hieroglyphic interpretation of the triangle of divine names on the scale of the Delary, as previously tabulated. By referring each number to its corresponding Sephirah, we may then read them off as follows. 4 signs present the name of every name. 1 Kever. The 4 aces. 4 brilliant beams adorn his crown of flame. 2 Chokmah. The 4 twos. 4 rivers ever from his wisdom flow. 3 Bina. The 4 threes. 4 proofs of his intelligence we know. 4 Jst. The 4 fours. 4 benefactions from his mercy come. 5 Jebra. The 4 fives. 4 times 4 sins avenged his justice sum. 6 Tifereth. The 4 sixes. 4 rays unclouded make his beauty known. 7 Netzer. The 4 sevens. 4 times his conquest shall in song be shown. 8 Hod. The 4 eights. 4 times he triumphs on the timeless plain. 9 Jesod. The 4 nines. Foundations for his great white throne maintain. 10 Morkuth. The 4 tens. 1 fourfold kingdom owns his endless sway, as from his crown the streams a fourfold ray. By this simple arrangement the Kabbalistic meaning of each card is exhibited. For example, the 5 of clubs signifies rigorously Jebra of Jod, that is, the justice of the Creator or the wrath of man. The 7 of cups signifies the victory of mercy or the triumph of woman. The 8 of swords signifies conflict or eternal equilibrium, and so of the others. We can thus understand how the ancient pontiffs proceeded to make the oracle speak. The chance dealing of the lamani produced invariably a fresh Kabbalistic meaning, exactly true in its combinations, which alone were fortuitous, and, seeing that the faith of the ancients attributed nothing to chance, they read the answers of providence in the oracles of the tarot, which were called teraphim by the Hebrews, as the erudite Kabbalist Gaffer, one of the magicians employed by Cardinal Richelieu, was the first to perceive. As to the court cards, a final couplet will suffice to explain them: King, Queen, Knight, Esquire.